you geeks! The Wheel of Time Season 2 has arrived, and I am over the moon.
Let me play among the stars.
There's just something about this season which feels right and natural. This thing that makes it meet the threshold of adaptation in a way that Season 1 didn't. I still say the best adaptation of The Eye of the World is to watch Season 1, Episodes 1 through 7, switch to Avatar The Last Airbender Siege of the North, and then you've got the best adaptation available. Season 2 already seems to surpass that, though, and I will now try to quantify why in 10 easy steps. Spoilers through Episode 3 of the show, and out of context book spoilers. So, if you know, you know. Number 1, writing. The writing this season feels so much tighter. Each episode has its own arc now, and each scene clearly is contributing to that, while each character within the scene is beginning to feel like a natural human being.
You didn't say it had to be clean.
I got a new watching buddy for this season, and he hasn't read the books or even finished Season 1, and yet at the end of the first episode he turns to me and says, "You know, these characters could really communicate better."
What aren't you telling me?
I laughed so hard because even with his remote and limited experience, he was finally getting what the Wheel of Time is all about. True, the exposition in some places could be a bit clunky, but then again, so were the books. This is an adaptation that's taken the rough shape of the original and lifted, if not complete scenes out, at least made homages or lifted dialogue.
I'm Elaine Tricant, daughter heir of Andor.
Even if the scenes aren't exact, the characters in them are at least acting the way the book characters would if they were put in that situation. More on this later. On the whole, I'd say the writers this season have done an excellent job, and Amazon should really pay them fair wages. If I make any profit off of this episode, I will definitely donate it to the SAG-AFTRA Fund. Number 2. Holy B-Squad, Batman! The Wheel of Time is known for having lots and lots of secondary characters, mostly being Aes Sedai, whose name begins with the letter S.
I spy with my little eye something beginning with S.
No one can keep track of them all, but more than a few secondary characters have their own fan following, and it's encouraging to see the show incorporate our favorites into it. They start off strong with everyone's favorite Scottish pirate.
Spend my fair share of time haggling sea folk. And they are the best in the game.
Next we get the flaming goat kisser, Uno.
So close to Paddington. I could smell his light forsaken hours.
Who tragically I think is going to stay dead this time. I shall miss him, but he went out as only Uno would go out. Missima seems to be sticking around and making the most of the few lines he's had this season.
Maybe shelter in the palm of the crater.
While Elias is basically himself from the books, though he's taking the role of a secondary character who seems to have been cut. Same with Varen, who seems to have taken over for Van Deen, Adeleus's original sister in the books.
My sister and I have decided to accompany you.
There are only 2 Aes Sedais in the whole series whose names begin with the letter V, and the show's combined them into one. I think that's brilliant and hilarious, and also I'm pretty happy that it kind of gives credence to a theory I had about Adeleas and her sister while reading book 2.
Nudge, nudge. Say no more.
Lastly for this video, Liandrin. Her role has definitely grown, and she seems to have taken some of Swan's scenes from the books.
If a man came at me with a sword, I could meet him with another blade.
Made from the air.
While the Armorland Steed remains largely aloof so far. I'm okay with this because it no doubt made production easier, while also allowing for Liandrin, Nynaeve, and Elaine's dynamic to be more than the Snape-Harry dynamic, and go to somewhere more like just ruthless but caring mentor figure.
I didn't send Nynaeve to her death. I sent her to the Archers because I believed in her.
Also, through Liandrin, we get to see some of the more tragic realities of being Aes Sedai, which we are only told about in the books.
I didn't mean to leave you here in pain. I'm so sorry, my boy, my beautiful boy.
Granted, we are told repeatedly in several books, but a picture is worth 1,000 words, and this scene carries all of Jordan's prose into it. In sum, these are the B-Squad characters that the fans love from the books, and unlike Layla or Dana, who technically were from the books, but were rewritten in such a way that they were practically strangers. On top of that, there was the warder who died, who was a complete show original last season. We just didn't know them.
And, oh, I forgot the other boy. What's his name? Well, God bless what's his name.
Those strangers made the show seem so remote from the actual books. And now that the show is able to incorporate Jordan's original, dynamic, diverse, colorful characters into their show, it is not only fan service, but also allows new fans to see this vast world that Jordan created. Number 3, Moiraine. She may have lost her powers, but gosh darn it, that woman is going to take her bath.
She fills up those buckets. No matter how many trips to the well she has to make, no matter how much water she spills along the way.
We also get to see some of her more cunning moments.
Sea folk might be good at the game, Master Doman, but the Aes Sedai invented it.
And yeah, I totally now see Moiraine as a smart woman who is in way over her head and, due to trauma, is now making decisions very in keeping with the Wheel of Time.
You'll go to the tower, and I'll continue alone.
Rosamund Pike may be this show's big name actress, so of course she has to be the featured character in episode 1. But her scenes are still taken largely from the books, and more importantly, the show seems to be better at sharing the spotlight. She doesn't even appear in episode 3. From the episode 4 trailer, it does appear that we're going to get more of her, but based on that location, I think we're going to get a lot more Rand, too. Number 4, the many moods of Rand al'Thor. The show has been sparse thus far with Rand, and no doubt that is exactly how Rand would like it. And yet, we still get to see Rand's character distilled and refined. We get to see his true compassion for the old and vulnerable.
He caught us by surprise. Next time, I'll be ready for him.
And even his sheep herder naivete.
There is no reward It's all deployed to parts of the folk, eh?
Of course it's not real.
Last season, he came across mostly as either angry or stupid, but this season we get more nuance, and it's this nuance that is so important because Rand still is the sort of character who would beat up an adversary in a dark alley. Though not kill him, because he is, after all, still a gentle sheep herder at heart. With a bit of a cunning streak.
Must have taken you months to work your way in here. You're more patient than I am.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Don't lie to me, boy.
This is early book Rand al'Thor, distilled and refined and perfectly conveyed in these few short scenes. While I hope to see more of him, I am content with what we have so far. Number 5, setup. Setup is the most important thing early episodes do, and these episodes set up not only the end of the season excellently, but also, I believe, ongoing threads of this entire story. We get Egwene wanting to be noticed, and yet she can't help but follow the rules.
But you were supposed to be the smart one. The girl who knew her place.
While Nynaeve has her channeling block that can only be overcome with anger.
It's making you angry. Use that anger.
Perrin is terrified of his new Golden Eye experiences, and to make matters worse, the Dark One just told him that those powers make him his.
The more wolf you are, the more you're mine.
While Mat has been kept in a cell by the Red Ajah, and when he breaks out of it, he finds
Another cell.
and then another, more cunningly woven net of which he is not yet aware.
I'll put that flea in a box, and then I'll put that box inside of another box, and then I'll nail that box to myself. And when it arrives, I'll smash it with a hammer.
Jordan took pages, chapters, whole books to convey these concepts, and yet the show does not have that kind of time. And after wasting a lot of season 1 with Perrin's mouth breathing and Nynaeve's vague yet ominous words.
What do you hear? Nothing.
The show did a major course correction. That did result in some clunky dialogue. Yet, I am very happy that they made the correction and am willing to see where they go from here. Number 6. That coat. Rand in a red coat is all that and a bag of chips. How Selene brought out his noble side and introduced him to high society was just so helpful of her, wasn't it?
I'm sorry I shouldn't have asked for your help. I have to go.
Wait, we're having fun.
Sorry.
Are you just going to leave me?
I love that Rand burned the invitation. It's just another detail that the show got so right, along with all of Kyrie's vibe. Like, I couldn't even imagine for myself what the perfect blend of Japan and Louis XIV France would look like, and yet the show captured it perfectly. I guess to be a stickler, you could say they should be wearing dark colors, but I don't care, because that hairstyle is magnificent. Also, we get to see a real Gleeman's coat.
I look handsome, I look smart.
Number 7. Mat being Mat. Mat has returned and is more Mat than ever. Without saying a word, Donald can perfectly convey that intelligent scoundrel who is so over being subject to the whims of an Aes Sedai. While he also deftly maneuvered Matt's character through whatever it was that happened last season into a character flaw that his character must overcome.
You left them. And you'd do it again.
Because that is how plot works, and this season has one. Number 8. Perrin's Nuggets of Wisdom. Technically, the ability to write letters to give each other updates is far beyond the communication skills of the book Emond's Field 5. However, it's a great way that the show is able to make use of Perrin's inner dialogue that we know to be simple yet profound and show it to the audience in an auditory manner. I do think it's a bit unfair that they gave that line to Nynaeve.
Now together we face the impossible. But now, in our separate corners of the world, every day feels exposed.
But at least now that Marcus is allowed to close his mouth, he can actually act and show that Perrin is getting over the catatonic shock of losing his wife and merging into a more reactive sort of shock to, oh my gosh, magical wolf powers.
Whatever you're doing to me, I want no part of it.
Lopin is quite pleased, and he hopes that Perrin gets his own feature episode to explore his own magical wolf powers with our new wolf friends coming up this season, just as Nynaeve got her own episode to be Nynaeve. Number 9. Nynaeve's Strength. The cold open of episode 3 smacked hard, given the show's prior willingness to change massive parts of the plot. They almost had me going with her leaving the tower, right up until Lan rode up in his dark, somber, stoic magnificence.
He's so handsome and rugged and chiseled and great.
True, that was plausible because good writing set that up, but I still called bologna sandwich. Then we go on to get almost a whole episode without Nynaeve, yet it's all about her, and we examine her relationship with Egwene and a little bit of Elaine.
Do you really think Nynaeve would want you to throw away your life? Your future because she's gone?
Thinking back to the structure of the Great Hunt book, Nynaeve's accepted testing was crucial for foreshadowing some other parts of that book's finale. And I hope that how hard the show hit Nynaeve's plot points in these episodes is a mere foreshadowing of how hard they will hit other characters' plot points in future episodes. But of course, the wheel weaves as the wheel wills. Number 10. I was wrong. Since season 1 was so, out there, and season 2's trailers were clever, along with Rafe telling us to,
all right, everyone, gird your loins.
I was very cautious as to how much of a course correction season 2 would take. How much of Robert Jordan's world were they actually going to adapt? I didn't think they would do much. However, that boatload of exposition in episode 1 seems to have proven me wrong.
The hunt for the Horn of Valir, called in Ilian, Trolloc raids near Arafel, and another false dragon has declared himself in Saldare.
They, of course, continue to make changes, but these changes now seem calculated to cram as many of Jordan's characters and world building as they can into this show.
We're in the middle of a meeting. A quite important one, really.
This seems different from the first season, which changes seemed calculated to cram as much of the show's original content into Robert Jordan's world. Now that it's the other way around, I wonder if the Kyrian's queen is Collavere.
The Queen has promised half her fortune to the woman or man who brings back the horn to Kyrian.
That would be a great way to simplify and distill some of Robert Jordan's more intriguous plots. Though I still can't see how they're going to fit it all in, I am encouraged to see them try.
And no one knows how far it goes.
Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe if you want to see more, and leave a comment. How did you like the Season 2 premiere of The Wheel of Time? See you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye!